Curator at the Alaska State Museum, and I'm going to moderate the session today, and not really moderate, but just introduce the speakers. And I wanted to start out just by saying a few words in honor of Peter Cory, who recently passed away, but we put this session together in his memory. And I just wanted to say a few words about Peter for those of you who may not have known him or known him as well. Peter Cory was the curator of collections at the Sheldon Jackson Museum in Sitka, and a widely recognized expert on Alaska Native arts and culture. He was born in Brooklyn and graduated with a master's degree from the Museum Studies program at Cooperstown, New York in the 1960s. And when he was first hired in 1969 to be curator at the Alaska State Museum in Juneau, he was very likely the first trained museum curator in Alaska. That was when that was a very early training program, and there weren't very many places you could become trained. So we think that he was the first trained curator. Before coming to Alaska, he worked with the Peace Corps, and then later became a museum technician at Cooperstown Indian Museum and the Peabody Museum. After working at the Totem Heritage Center in Sitka, he became director of the Sheldon Jackson Museum in 1977, and he continued working there until 2002 when he retired. His area of expertise was Alaska Native cultures and art, and the Sheldon Jackson Museum was a very good fit for him, since that's the oldest museum in Alaska and has a world-class collection of art and material culture from Alaska Natives. And being on the campus of the Sheldon Jackson College, he was able to interact with students from all over, Native students from all over Alaska, and he benefited greatly from learning from them and they from him. At the museum, his real forte was the Alaska Native basketry collection, and he really focused in on that and added many baskets to the collection there, and brought to the collecting a real an eye of a curator and a connoisseur, analyzing the collection and looking for new aspects of the art to add to the collection, and always, of course, looking at for interesting baskets that had good documentation, so we could actually learn more about the art, the history of the art. He also spent a lot of time with some of the elderly weavers that were still weaving in the 60s and 70s. Selena Peratrovich, Dolores Churchill's grandmother, Haida, and Annie Lawrence and Ida Kadashan, Tlingit weavers. And these were some of the last weavers who learned basketry as kids. And so they were very familiar with the traditional set of tools that they used, and aspects of gathering and preparing the materials, too, that are just totally undocumented. So he had access to that information, and they all became really lifelong friends. And in addition to that, many other artists were friends with Pete. Nathan Jackson, I think they met when Peter worked in the Totem Heritage Center, but they were lifelong friends. And there's two pictures of Pete and Nathan here, one of Pete dancing with Nathan in the Alaska State Museum in about 1969. Those are King Islanders who came down, and they were dancing, and a later picture of Pete and Nathan there, and then Pete with Selena Peratrovich too. And it also shows Pete in a couple of phases. The earlier photos, he's in his Wolfman Jack phase, and then the other pictures of him in his Kenny Rogers phase. So I had to point that out. I'm sure Pete would appreciate that, or probably not appreciate it, but anyway. We sure miss him. It was his passing was very unexpected, and but he really made his mark in Alaska, and had a very full life, and we certainly appreciate all of his contributions to museums and learning about Alaska Native art. So today we have in our session, in his honor, we have three very well-known and important speakers who are spending their lives learning about Alaska Native art and culture. And